Hi there. So we're here today to talk about. I'll bring that down just in case. We're here to talk today about what is immersion. Immersion has a lot of different faces, a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people in different walks of life, like a lot of things that there are out there. Um, but more specifically, we're going to talk a little bit about board games, tabletop games, LARP, and video games, gaming in general, and what immersion means. The whole idea here is we're going to have a series of different topics and conversations on individual pieces of the larger puzzle that is immersion. Because everyone's going to want to take away more from one, less from another, to try and find their ideal amount of immersion when it comes to playing games, playing together, and interacting. For example, if you get too deep into immersion and you're not prepared for it, you get what LARP, live action role playing groups, refer to as bleed. That's not just because of dealing with potentially positive and negative interactions with people that you interact with in different ways in your day to day life or only occasionally see, making you feel, well, down or impacted or drained. Or attractions from the short term, for example, that you might not want to actually act on because it's living in the moment. Um, or you can get things where you're completely disengaged from the product that you're trying to do. At the end of the day, I tend to find that the easiest things for most of these is the voices, um, the presentation, and costuming does play a big part as well. We've all heard and seen more than one occasion of someone at least partially dressing up as their character, even for your bog standard tabletop games. The great people over at Geek and Sundry tend have a habit of doing that, especially during some of their further planned out board game offerings, such as those hosted by Becca Scott. For example, one of them is when they played Villainous, and most of them dressed in at least the color palette. I believe they call it Disney casting for those that go to Disney. But also a couple little tokens and such to help them signify and stay in the role of their character as they role played just playing a normal tabletop game. So what that usually means for me and you, it impacts us a bit more, like I said, at the level that we're all looking for to take out of this. I'm going to have another video later on about voice acting, which can help you when you're streaming, playing games yourself, actually just role playing. I find that a little bit of vocal play can make a huge difference when you're the DM or ST in charge of a scene. Helps them players involved connect a little bit differently to each of the non-player characters that you're running and controlling to help set the scene. Other things is set dressing. As you can see my backdrop behind me just to help separate the room a little bit and all the stuff sitting around. You see this a lot passively in most dedicated streaming groups. They'll have the background set up for, well, the topics that they're going to focus on so that if your eyes start to wander while you're still listening and becoming a passive engagement, you have the chance of finding something in the background, be it like a wrestling Funko Pop or a toy version of a championship belt or a real championship belt in some cases, in the background to help you reconnect and stay engaged with the product. You see it with gaming ones tons because you'll either get an overlay in the case of someone who's streaming and just showing you their screen more than anything else, with maybe a little bit of an overlay in the corners, other than just the chat, to help you stay in it even as your attention starts to drift. This is more important in a longer term video and engagement than it is in short term, but there's been a lot of studies and engagement showing that people tend to stick to it for a lot shorter than we used to think, which kind of shows that in the bad old days, we used to have to force ourselves a lot more because we didn't know what we actually wanted, and it, certain aspects of life were held more important than others. Whereas we're finally reaching a point in our society and ourselves where our enjoyment and our quality of life is once again coming to the fore. So, as I said, this is going to be a series of videos on immersion. So, I hope you stick around for a while, and we'll do a couple different videos, like I was saying, on the different topics, so I can be a little bit more pointed. Thank you. Be good to yourselves and each other, and understand that we're all different levels, we're all different skills. The big thing is, if you find something that you can take away, I feel like I've done my job here. Job. I'm doing it for fun, too. All right. You have a great one.